Michelle Greenman, Women's Wellness Coach, and you have found the Makeover Your Life Summit. And I just want to welcome everybody here today, no matter what time you're watching. And I'm so excited for us to have this interview with Kadena Tate from KadenaTate.com. Now, Kadena is a brand monetization and strategy coach. She's really about making over your business and really making over your money. And I'm really excited to hear what it is you're going to be sharing with us today. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Yay. So let's just get started. For you, when did you realize that you needed a makeover?
When I realized that I was giving more than I was comfortable giving, I was saying yes to things that I really wanted to say no to, but I didn't want to be perceived as not a nice person, not a generous person. And that's when I knew.
That's amazing.
Well, I'm going to take that.
When you think about saying yes.
Yes, no, that's what I meant. But also it was going through bankruptcy and foreclosure. That was the, leading up to it. But once I went through that was it.
So that's a lot. When you were saying yes, what do you think is really behind all the yes saying? Because I know there's a lot of people who do that.
It was a combination of three things. They were disempowering beliefs about spirituality. Mm-hmm. I had this whole idea in my head that it was better to give than to receive. Mm-hmm. So I would give out of my own need. Mm-hmm. The second thing was I'm from the South and women are supposed to be nice. And I didn't want anybody to think that I wasn't nice. Okay. I didn't want anybody to think that I wasn't nice, that I wasn't generous. Mm-hmm. And then the third place was my gift has always been easy for me. Yeah. And so when it's something that comes natural, it almost, when you're dealing with people sometimes, they try to project onto you that you owe them because it's easy for you. And I had lots of guilt. So that was my drama. Wow. Disempowering belief system.
And so how did that lead you to bankruptcy?
Because what would happen is I had really low prices in my business because I didn't sit down and look at, well, let's back up. I knew I need to make X amount of money and I'm willing to do this. Yeah. But what ended up happening was I believe that low prices are small solutions. Now I get this, right? Yep. The bigger the problem, the bigger the compensation. But what would happen is I was solving big problems, but I had a low price point. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of clients, but I wasn't earning enough money. Mm-hmm. And so that is kind of what made me sit down and say, wait a minute, I'm doing all this work. And what I learned is that overgiving looks like undergiving to a person who's, I really don't want to call people lazy, but I don't know a better term for it. Yeah. But people who have a spirit of entitlement, they feel like you owe them. No, if you are a person who has perfectionist energy like I do, that going above and beyond to people who are shooting for the curb, hitting the street, you just give me more, right?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And I honestly, I know you're really talking about what you were doing in your business, but personally, there's a lot of people who are overgiving. And I really resonate with you saying that to somebody even looking on, even people who are not lazy, but to somebody looking on who don't know what it takes.
Yes.
Right? Somebody looking on, when you're overgiving, they start to think that you are compensating for something that you're doing wrong.
Correct. Well, that's the perfectionist. Oh, that was really good. Because if you know anything about perfectionism, it's not about excellence. It's about this belief beneath the surface that no matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. So I can't do, or have enough. Yeah. And that's where that was coming from. So thank God I'm free of that. It took a minute. Right.
Because I love the way you saying it. It really showed up in your business because you couldn't even sustain your life even though you were working a lot. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who are in that situation and they're really not sure what's wrong. And you're right. They just want to do more because it's like, well, it's not working because I just don't have enough or I'm just not doing enough and I'm just going to do more. And so they are changing their lives around getting even less money, right? Or
Yes.
love,
Yes.
or, attention or care, and giving way, 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 way more than they even have to give. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I'm glad that you mentioned where it came from. Because
Yes.
not everybody lives in the South, but a lot of people have this complex that they need to be nice, especially as
Right.
ladies, that we need to be
Yeah.
sweet, and we need to smile, we need to swallow everything, and it's just
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's craziness. And
It is.
I really appreciate you sharing that. It's gonna lead you to bankruptcy, and I want to echo that for everybody who's watching, even if it doesn't lead you to financial bankruptcy, it's going to lead you to emotional or spiritual bankruptcy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because what happens is we become more concerned about what other people think than a
Yeah.
mutually beneficial objective.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I teach people,
Mm-hmm.
I love the late martial artist, Bruce Lee. He
Mm-hmm.
has this quote, and the quote says, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine.
Mm-hmm.
That set me free
Yeah.
because when you stop looking for other people, things outside of you to
For approval.
validate
Yeah.
you, there's a lot of love and then self care that I was able to give to myself because I wasn't looking for it to come from the client in the form of money. And
Yeah.
so now, like I say to entrepreneurs, you don't have to prostitute yourself. If you know that your office hours, for example, are 9 to 5.
Yeah.
If somebody sees you on Facebook at 10 o'clock at night and they want to have a business conversation, you have every right, to say, these are not my business hours.
Yeah.
To
Chat with
own
me
that,
tomorrow.
it takes a minute, honey, to get there. As a woman, it takes a minute because,
Yeah.
people, they get very upset. So you can do it.
So other than that Bruce Lee quote, which I love because I think he was amazing, and
Yes.
for him to say I'm not living up to your expectation really does highlight the fact that his own expectation for himself was so high, because
Yes.
he was phenomenal.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what did your makeover really entail? What did you
Oh,
have to do?
honey, it was like a total life makeover. So it was everything. It was my mindset.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had to let go of thoughts that did not serve me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to release toxic relationships. I believe that people can either energize you or drain you. I had to let go of all the people who were emotionally, physically, and financially draining.
Yeah.
And because what was happening is what I would do is, because I wanted to be nice, I would stuff down my emotions with food.
Yeah.
So then I gained all this weight because
Yeah.
I didn't want to come across, let's put it this way, I only knew two dials, either nice or a witch. That was it. That was it. That's all I knew. I only knew one or the other. I didn't know how to navigate in the middle. And
Yeah.
so what I started doing is looking at when there would be a trigger. So let's just say a person would call me and they would want me to do a whole arsenal of things for them for free.
Yeah.
If I became emotionally charged, I started journaling and asking myself, why does that upset me?
Yeah.
And when I got really clear, it was because this person didn't respect my gift. Then I would flip it and say, I don't respect my gift because I haven't set systems up in my business to know how to overcome these objections.
Yeah.
So what I did was I looked at everything through the lens of a mirror. Whenever people show up who are angry, I would look within and say, where in me is all of this? Because why are you showing up? If I didn't have this, then this would not be showing up.
Yeah.
So I just got really, really clear that the problem was not outside of me, that these people were mirrors of things that were going on emotionally for me. And that's when everything started to change.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Bruce Lee, that was one of my quotes. One of my other quotes it's an anonymous quote, and it says, when you believe in your dreams, they may come true, but when you believe in yourself, they will come true. That's
beautiful.
Is the one that totally set me free.
Yeah.
Because what I realized was that I always believed in other people, but I didn't necessarily believe in myself because I saw that as having some form of arrogance. And once I let go of that,
yeah,
and the weight has started to come off, like I said, relationships go away. Now it's in stages,
Of
like
course, yeah.
I had gained, I still can't even believe this, but I had gained 150 pounds. I'm like, oh my God. I don't even recognize pictures of myself. I mean, I
Yeah.
still have 50 pounds to go, but I had gained 150 pounds. I'm only
Wow.
5'4". And I was looking, I was in Saks Fifth Avenue, coming down an escalator, and I saw myself. I was like, who the hell is that? It was just like, whoa, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So I realized that when the weight comes off, the weight comes off. Now that
Yeah.
sounds like, it's the emotional
Yeah.
burden, baggage, all that stuff. Then the weight just comes off.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a transformation in every area, but it started with me taking 100% responsibility
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
That is the beginning. So,
I
and then
honestly,
that's it.
I really loved how you articulated what you started to journal, because that's the work that I love to do with clients, is to really let them be honest about what they're getting from these toxic relationships or
Mhm.
toxic situations, because you're right, they're not taking responsibility that they're enjoying something about it. It's like, it's
Yes.
turning my life out of control, but there's something about it that you love, or you wouldn't
Hmm.
be
Oh,
doing it,
yes.
and
Oh,
so it's so important to really put. And honestly, it's something that if you haven't done it, it's hard for you to recognize. But when somebody comes to you and says, you're acting like a really mean person, and you just agree with them, it's so freeing,
yes.
and we're really stuck in this emotion of, no, I can't say that that's me, and I don't want to be that, and I don't want them to think that. Well, they think that, they see it, there's something there. And I recognize the same thing for myself, as when I was able
Mhm.
to just say, yes, it must be going on, what am I going to do to fix it? It just completely changes everything. And you
Oh,
think that it would
absolutely.
make you feel worse about yourself, but it doesn't.
No,
Not at
no,
all. So I
because
think that's
what,
amazing,
yeah.
because I'm glad that we got underneath this, because I know when it comes to business and money that there are powerful ways that shows up with money. And so I would love for you to share with us some of the things you share with your clients regarding that.
One of the things that I have people do is write down, if you became a billionaire, what are your worst fears? And they look at me and say, fears. And I say, yeah, fears.
Yeah.
Because this is what happened to me. As I earned more money, I became like the first bank of my family. And so what ends up happening is, in your mind, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not a superstar. I just have a little bit. And so, but my daughter cracked my face one day because we were driving down the street,
Yeah.
and we were driving down the street of a house that we used to live in years ago. And my daughter said, Mom, I was whining and bitching about all these people asking me for money. And my daughter said to me, Mom, you make $50,000 a year. They make 10. Of course you're rich. And I was like, I think she was 6 years old.
Wow.
Now she's 25, but
Yeah.
she was 6. And I just paused,
Yeah.
and thought, I never looked at it like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me shift. So when I ask clients, what's your worst fear? Their worst fear, a lot of times, is people are going to try to move in and they're going to ask me
Yeah.
for all this money.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say no. All kind of stuff comes up. And so
Yeah.
then what I do is have them do the exercise of learning how to say no. So we role play,
Yeah.
which blows their minds, because if you know this is going to happen, because it's going to happen. I mean, give me a break. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Just like if you won the lottery, your whole family thinks, we won the lottery, even though it's your lottery ticket.
Yeah.
So it's getting clear about, how do you see money? Money is a tool. How do you want to use your money for your business? And
Mm-hmm.
also, on a less dramatic example, as a married person, a lot of times you might be thinking, okay, I just made 250,000. I can grow my business this way. But
Yep.
your spouse is thinking, well, we can move into a bigger house. We can drive a
Yep. Or
nicer
I can
car.
buy a new
We can
car.
pay these
Or
bills off.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, what are you talking about? Why are you spending my money? So now arguments ensue because you have one vision, the spouse has
Yeah.
a divergent vision. So it's about getting clear about, how do you see money? How do you want to use your money?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you personally want to leave a legacy? I'm all about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I can say to you is, for me, I believe in strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you got to get crystal clear about what you do, why you do it, and
Mm-hmm.
how you want to be compensated for it. And everything goes back to intention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people nowadays, because of internet marketing, they have this whole mindset that they can get rich quick overnight. And I'm like, okay, then you need to be building an iPad or something if you want to get rich quick like that. You know, you got to build something, like amazing, because
Yeah.
you just can't roll out of bed and throw some stuff together and expect millions of people to give you their hard earned money. So I just think I really talk to people about being solution oriented,
Yeah.
and also to recognize as entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, to
Yeah.
solve problems.
Yeah.
Because when people start whining to me and they say, every time I turn around, these people, I'm like, well, why are you in business? You're in business to help these people solve their problems.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
I
So,
do. Like, it really does, because I think what I really found that you highlighted was the fear for people and how that keeps them small. And it's
stuck.
not that they might come to you thinking there's something that's not working, and I know that you're there to help them with that strategy, to really highlight for them, here's a way that we can put protection around you so that you're not worried about that anymore. But realistically, there's a reason that you're staying small. It's not
Oh,
because nobody
absolutely.
likes what you're doing. It's not because you don't do it well. It's because you really don't want to succeed. And I love that, because I say that to my clients all the time when I'm asking them about fears is it a fear of failure or is it a fear of success? And it kind of baffles people, because it's like, well, why would I be afraid of succeeding? It's like, well, you are, so
Yes.
why are you afraid of succeeding? Because you don't think that would be happening. Most people don't think, it's just like, I
Well,
just can't wait to get to the finish line. But like, really in your mind, you don't really want to get to the finish
oh no.
line.
Well, I have male and female clients who've said to me, I don't want to earn any more money because my spouse is a shopaholic. And I
Wow.
smile and I say, well, you're enabling that.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to taking responsibility for
Yeah.
every area of your life.
Yeah.
And if you don't sit down and have conversations, whether it's with a spouse, a lover, a friend, a parent, a
Yeah.
sibling, whatever it is, you have to be willing to look within everything that's going on with you, because it's really not about anybody else. It's nothing out here.
Yeah.
It's
It's
all
all
in
inside.
here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we think life is happening to us, but our thoughts and our habituated ways of being are what is creating a lot of the confusion. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think that at least I know in my own life, I would put certain blocks up, basically create my own obstacles. And I didn't know I was a drama queen. And I say to people, oh my God, we have the drama because we create this drama where, I don't have any money. So if anybody comes to me, I don't have any money, and then
Yeah.
you really don't have any money.
Yeah.
So you have like what, not enough, just enough, and more than enough. We're always in that land of not enough or just enough because we're not really generous in a way that is true generosity.
Yeah.
It's more like, if you do this,
Yeah.
then
Then
I'll
I'll do
love you.
this. Yeah.
So that if then kind of drama. So you're right on point about the fear of success and the fear of failure. Sometimes we have both. We just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I feel like what you're saying to everybody, and, correct me if I'm wrong, is if you're in business or not in business, you don't have the money that you want because there is something going on the inside. And
Correct.
until you grow that mindset, until you grow that love for yourself, that appreciation for that gift that you do have, like, it is completely my belief that if you are here on the earth, there's a work for you to do. There's something that only
Absolutely.
you can do. And if you're not appreciating it, there's no way for you to share it in a way that people are going to appreciate it as well. And
Absolutely.
so that limitation is yours.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's hard for people to hear, because they're sitting there waiting for somebody to approve of them. That's the bottom line.
No.
They're sitting there, somebody waiting to say, you are worth this much.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I do at my live events
Mm-hmm.
is I have people hold up a mirror and look in the mirror, and I say to them, look within, and then I want you to affirm, I am worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And people burst into tears because if you don't feel worthy and deserving of what you work for, then of course you're going to not be a good steward of it, right? You'll give
Yeah.
away your three most valuable assets, your time, your undivided attention, your intellectual property.
Yeah.
You'll give these things away, and then you'll have this spirit of resentment
Yeah.
because you're like, nobody appreciates me, nobody respects me. But it's really you don't appreciate and respect
Yourself.
yourself. That was a
Yeah.
big lesson for me. And so I think that you said something really key I want to go back to. Nobody can do exactly what you do in the exact way that you do it.
No.
And I think we live in a society where we have so much comparison energy. And
Yeah.
I believe mind, body, spirit, and soul, authenticity has no competition. When you stand in your divine sacredness of your own power, you can move mountains, but you can't do it if you're cowering and if you're not holding yourself accountable for taking action. Because, sidebar, people say readers are leaders. That's not true. But every leader is a reader. Because you can read a book and not take a bit of action, right?
Exactly.
You can read a whole bunch of books and not do a thing because you're scared. And so we have to learn how to start where we are and be gentle with ourselves and recognize. Harbecker has a quote that says, every master was once a disaster.
Yeah.
We got to start somewhere. So give ourselves the gift of play and just, being open to experience. I don't know. Sometimes when we get older, we just forget about fun, about joy. It becomes this whole tight thing. Well, if it's not going to make me any money, I'm not going to do it. And that's ridiculous. We just have to challenge our own beliefs.
Yeah. So for people who are watching, what would be this first step for them to really start to do that experience? Like the makeover that you described that you had to do for yourself was very deep and lasting, and it took waves. Like you said, it happens over time. So what is the first place that you think people need to start?
The very first thing, I know this is going to sound like, is she serious? But I'm so serious. I think you should go to the store and buy Post-it notes and post all over your house, I am enough on one sticky note, I am worthy on another sticky note, and on a third one, I am loved, loving, and lovable.
I like that one.
I think you should put that all over your house. That's the first thing. So everywhere you go, your bathroom, your kitchen, everywhere, there it is. And the reason that I say that is because I did that for years. And when people would come to my house, they would say, your house has such a spirit of peace. And I would say, because I'm at peace, because you can't create from a place. I'm talking about true creation from this place of chaos and confusion. Okay, the process, my artistic creativity is messy, but I'm talking about true creativity that's pure and aligned with who you are, your own power. You need a clear channel, and you have to be a clear vessel. So that's step one, your mindset.
Yeah.
The second thing is start to notice when you're with people, how do you feel? If you feel like, oh my God, here she comes or he comes, that's a big key to do what my mother and father said. It's a country saying, but it's the perfect thing. They say, learn how to feed people with a long-handled spoon. Everybody does not have to have first place in your life, right? I mean, you got to learn how to let go and not be available for all that drama. So one of the things that I did, and this is, like I said, this is about 15 years ago, I used to go to lunch with a group of people and they would gossip, and it always made me feel uncomfortable in my body. So the first thing I did was I stopped going to lunch with them. And whenever people would gossip or be in some type of what I call small-minded conversation, I would get up, I would say, excuse me, and I get up and I would leave. So it's about you removing toxic people and toxic mindsets. That's the second step. And then the third step is, which is really uncomfortable, but you got to open up every bill that comes to your house, pull out a legal pad, and draw yourself 4 columns. You write down the creditor, you write down the interest rate, how much money you owe them, how much money they want per month, and the 5th column is their address. You write all that down, And then you sit down and you reorganize them by interest rate. What's the highest interest rate first?
Mm-hmm.
And you say to yourself, there is absolutely nothing that I cannot be, do, or have.
Mm-hmm.
So I can overcome this piece of paper filled with debt.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the thing is to become debt free.
Yeah.
So in order to become debt free, you have to sit down and ask, how may I serve? So
Yeah.
what are my gifts, talents, strengths, and abilities, and the lessons that I've learned from my life experiences? Who needs what I have? And
Yeah.
serve those people, and the money will show up.
Yeah.
And that to me you'll be on your way if you just do those four things. Well on your way.
Yeah. I think that's amazing, like, steps. I'm still at step one. Because you know what? I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, I cannot write these down because somebody's going to come to my house and see them.
Then they're not your real friends.
Exactly.
Because let me tell you something.
Like that, I just really wanted to post that because I know that there are some people watching who are saying, if I write these things down, my children are going to see them and think that there's something wrong. And I really want to encourage people that if you write them down, your children are going to read them and feel that way about themselves. They're going to watch you becoming more confident and become more confident. And you're going to be able to give them, like you said, a legacy of love and peace and confidence in themselves that is worth more than anything else that you can give them.
Well, I'll say this. Our daughter is 25,
Mm-hmm.
and she started her own not-for-profit for girl with self-esteem issues, to help girls with body image issues and self-esteem issues,
Mm-hmm.
which is really kind of funny to me because when she was 5 years old, one day I was walking up the stairs and I heard her in her room huffing and puffing at midnight. And she was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And so, I peeked through the door and she was down on the floor doing sit-ups. This is at like 1 o'clock in the morning. She was doing sit-ups and she was pouring down in sweat.
Wow.
And I said, what are you doing? I scared the daylights out of her. And she said to me that she was doing, I said, what are you doing these sit-ups for? And she said that she wasn't skinny enough.
Wow.
And I was so upset about this, and so what I started doing is I would make her take off all her clothes and stand in the bathroom on top of the counter,
Yeah.
look at herself and say, I am beautiful.
Yeah.
And, I thought this girl is going to hate me. And so my grandmother, her name is Lily B. Brown. So the not-for-profit is called Lily B. Girls. My grandmother told her when she was little,
Mm-hmm.
because she was a dark-skinned Black woman, she didn't feel attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about her own life.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandmother passed away when she was 93.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so my daughter decided to create this not-for-profit in her legacy, right, to honor the work that she did. And then also people say, why are you so confident? And she was like, my mom had all over the house, I am beautiful, I am loved, I am loved, I am lovable. So when people say to me, oh, I don't want my children to see it,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing your child the greatest gift because
Mm-hmm.
they know that life isn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't grow up that way. I grew up with perfectionists. My parents, thank God, they've healed now. But hey, when I was growing up, they were crazy. They were crazy. So they were crazy. And so they were steeped in perfectionist energy.
Wow.
And so when you grow up underneath that,
Yeah.
they grew up that way, right?
Yeah.
And so we can change from one generation to the next by stopping and saying, how can I help my children to be comfortable with themselves,
Yeah.
to be comfortable with money,
Mm-hmm.
to be comfortable with being a leader? Because I'm sure there are children who thought my child was strange, but she's like a brilliant girl. And you can do it. I mean, you can do it, plain and simple.
I think that's amazing. I just because I know. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be whatever excuse people are going to have not to do it because it's going to grow you. And it's going to grow you. And that's that fear coming up again. And so I'm really glad that we got a chance to talk about that a little bit. Was there anything else that you wanted to add? I know we've talked about lots of things, but was there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
Yes. The last thing I want to share is about makeovers specifically. I believe that as women, one of the most powerful tools that we have is our ability to connect and build community.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I encourage women to do is to give yourself a support team.
Mm-hmm.
If for example, I needed to lose weight, so I had to create relationships with my friends who love to eat healthy instead of hanging out with my friends who want to eat fattening food. Now I have both, right? But if I want to exercise, I have this group of friends, and I want to go out to eat, healthy food. I have this group of people. Build support systems for whatever it is that you're doing. If you want to be debt free, don't be hanging out with your friends who are shopaholics. You got to create for yourself a community of people around you who are going to nurture and help the makeover possible.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things that we don't do is we have this whole idea that none of these people are going to support me. Well, maybe it's not going to come initially from your spouse, your best friend, or your children, but this is what's hilarious. When you do it, like, I can't tell you how many people say to me, they didn't have anything good to say. They were trying to sabotage me when I was first trying to lose the weight, inviting me out to eat at all these crazy places. When I stopped hanging out with those people and I started hanging out with people who ate healthier, as I started to lose the weight, the other people who were sabotaging me, girl, I knew you could do it. Oh, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, wait a minute. You were trying to stuff me with ice cream and potato chips. So we have to create an environment, okay, so that the makeover can take place.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
I really appreciate that, because, that is why I wake up in the morning and do the work that I do, is because there's a lot of people who don't have people around them.
Yes.
And to really support them is so important. Awesome.
Yeah.
I know you have a free gift for us, and so I'd love to hear what it is that you are going to give us.
Ooh-wee, girl, I have a lot of goodies. Well, I have this, remember I was talking about mindset mastery. So I believe that you have to create your own life mantra. So I created this thing called the Authentic Prosperity Manifesto. So that's a free gift to help you recognize that when you say the words I am, you really want to follow them by something that's positive. Just become more mindful of the power of your words. Then the other 4 gifts, there's 5 gifts total. The other 4 gifts are designed to help you accelerate your business growth. So one of them is about organization in terms of your time, because I believe that your time is your most precious resource, and we all get it. So there's no racism, sexism, or any other kind of ism, right? You get 24 hours. You need to be a good steward of it. Then another one is about productivity, because if you are like me, you have perfectionist energy, everything looks like the 20% that creates the 80%. That's just not true. So I'm going to help you out there, and extend my hand so that you can be free of that. Then another thing is about customers. Everything that you will accomplish in your life will be accomplished with and through the aid of other people. So you really need to understand people and their personalities. So there's a tool for that. And then the last thing is all about your business, creating a 1-page business plan. Stop convoluting everything with these, elaborate plans. Make it very simple so that you can wake up every day and say, am I on target moving towards the object of my desire, which in my opinion should always be, how am I serving? If you are not serving, then you really got to go back to the drawing board and ask, do I have a belief, for example, that I use things or I use people? And just getting really clear about who you are and the value you bring to the table. And do you want me to give them the link to where they can get the free
It's actually going to be right underneath the video.
Okay.
But I think that's amazing. Like, your package sounds like the business makeover on 1 page.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. Because I think for a lot of people, it's confusing. We're all over the place. And the more you talk, the more I'm starting to think I'm a perfectionist. I never would have thought that. But, it is. There's some energy there that just says it has to be this way. And if it's not this way, it's not good enough. And to have all those resources that allow you really to answer those questions in your brain so that you have that opportunity to kind of dream bigger, I think it's really like what I'm seeing in that. That's going to be so awesome for people to be able to be like, no, it's going to be fine. Let's go somewhere else with it.
Well, I want to piggyback on something you said before we close. And this was a huge thing for me in my business, to recognize that as we grow ourselves, everything else grows in equal proportion.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you have perfectionist energy, remember, you start thinking it's not good enough, so you don't take any action. Well, if you don't take any action, then you never develop mastery.
Yeah.
Because there's beginner, intermediate, advanced, and mastery.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that happens is we don't recognize that when we first start our businesses, we're all at zero. Nobody's making any money. But in order, you can grow a business from zero to billions. The sky is the limit, according to the belief that you have within yourself about your ability to serve larger numbers of people.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that's really, really important for people to understand is give yourself permission to start where you are. Yeah. Start where you are and know that in that moment you're enough. And if you're not comfortable with where you are, my recommendation is invest in a coach. Mm-hmm. Get a coach, get some friends around you who can support you. Mm-hmm. If you don't have any friends, my God, you have the internet, which is a game changer. The world is wide open to you. Mm-hmm. You can find, there's no excuse for you not to be living a life that's filled with joy and laughter and love and passion, health and wealth. There's absolutely no excuse. Mm-hmm. So we can support one another in that, but you got to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You got to take responsibility.
I think that's phenomenal. I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about this because I don't think that people recognize how important it is.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it is so important. And our promise to you out there is that when you take responsibility, you will feel better about yourself, not worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You're liberated, girl. That's true freedom. Yeah. Because as long as we are held hostage by our beliefs, we're slaves to in a large way, whether you're a slave to a wage or to a mentality. Yeah. If it's disempowering, you can't go up. You can only plateau downwards. So we really have to give ourselves permission to thrive. One last thing.
Yeah.
One last thing, I promise. The other thing, so many people they say change is hard. I'm scared of change.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you don't change, if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, nothing stays the same. Mm-hmm. Obviously, your body today is not the same body as when you were an infant. Change is a natural progression of life.
It's happening all the time.
So this whole idea of I don't want to change and I'm scared of change, really examine where that's coming from. Mm-hmm. Because if you say to yourself, my friend Mindy Otland wrote a book called What If Up? And Mindy says, instead of saying, what if it all goes wrong, switch that to what if it all goes right? Yeah. And so I encourage everyone to ask that question. What if it went right? Stop thinking about the worst, because surely that will come upon you, right? Surely that will. Try it. Just try to say, what if it all went right? What if my plan succeeded? Mm-hmm. What if I met the person of my dreams? What if I lost all this weight? Then what? What are the good things that can happen? Mm-hmm. Stop thinking low and begin to, really ascend your thought process. Mm-hmm. So I'm just so delighted that you allowed me this time to share.
I am too. I think it's going to be awesome for people to just really hear that it's so pivotal. It's so important. Yeah. It's so vital to your understanding and your health, and definitely for your wealth, to just switch that energy to that you're enough and that you're beautiful and that you have this gift to give. And the only thing that's keeping you from that is you not believing that fully.
Absolutely.
Because there's too much of us who are we say we don't believe it. Do you know what I mean? We say we're very confident, but we're not completely confident. And that challenge is the next step for us. And so I really appreciate that, because I know for you, coming from bankruptcy, like you said, is to really building a business that's going to be amazing and sky's the limit, is such a huge accomplishment. And I think that's what people really want. They hear it, but they don't believe it. And so really pinpointing that is amazing.
But you know why they don't believe it? You said something that's really important. Because if you believe that life is supposed to be filled with ups and downs, and sometimes you have money and sometimes you don't, if you believe that, then that's a belief that will then feed into this whole idea that I'm supposed to be poor. And
Yeah.
as long as you have these beliefs, instead of saying, you know what, I'm doing good work in the world
Yeah.
and I should be compensated for the value that I deliver.
Yeah.
And then you have to deliver that, right? You just can't sit around and having some expectation from folks. So really owning that, looking at your beliefs. To me,
Yeah.
mindset mastery is the key
To
to the
everything.
whole thing. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the first step for everybody. And I'm encouraging all of you today to get that sticky
Get your sticky
pad and to put
notes.
it all over your house and to
Yeah.
remind yourself, if you live by yourself, or your whole family, or all your friends that come to visit, that they have something wonderful to give, that they're loved, that they're beautiful, and that they can do what it is that they're meant to do. I think that's phenomenal for people to just start today. And I know you don't want to, but I am encouraging you to do it anyways. You know, and to get that support and to start on the inside. I thank you so much for joining us and just sharing
Thank you.
so much. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
I am
And I
so
just want to
thrilled.
encourage everybody to get this free gift. I mean, honestly, I'm excited to get it. It sounds like a business makeover on one page, and to really have a wonderful, wonderful day, and to really focus on what's important. And that, as we were talking about, is how you believe on the inside and where your mind is going.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.